How to make order bidding. Next, we will conduct training on order bidding techniques. There are two parts. Order bidding decision points. Analyze the results to see what information it can reflect. First, let's look at order bidding decision points. Order bidding will involve these important decision points: the bottom line of the offer, the upper limit of the offer, the advertising rate decision, and the utilization of order bidding mana. How to determine the bottom line of the offer and the upper limit of the offer. By calculating the price corresponding to the break-even point, the bottom line of the offer can be determined. To get the bottom line of the offer, we need to go to the income statement to see the company's taxable income and operating profit data for the previous year. By placing the mouse over the performance section of the home track and selecting income statement, we can see the income statement of each company for each year. Take Appliance 4 as an example. We can check the income statement of each company to see the tax-inclusive revenue, TIA, and operating profit of Appliance 4 in the previous year, which are $14,080 and -$669, respectively. According to the formula, operating profit is equal to TIA minus TC. Then we can find the total cost, TC, of Appliance 4 in the previous year. TC is equal to TIA minus operating profit is equal to $14,080 plus $669 is equal to $14,749,000. And how many cars did Appliance 4 sell in the previous year? We can see this in the View Data section. Place your mouse over the View Data section of the track chart and select Production Approach. In the Production Approach panel, we can learn that the number of home appliances sold by Appliance 4 company in the previous year was 11,000 units. To obtain the price corresponding to the break-even point at this point, we need to assume that the operating profit is 0. Kia is equal to P times Q. Q is equal to 11,000. We calculated that TC is equal to 14,749. Then TIA minus TC is equal to P times Q minus 14,749 is equal to P times 11,000 minus 14,749 is equal to 0. P is approximately equal to 1.34. The price corresponding to the break-even point in the previous year is $1.34,000. So how should we quote this year? Should we raise the price or lower it? Then it is necessary to consider the price elasticity of demand at this point, provided that the offer and advertising costs of other manufacturers are consistent with the previous year. Based on the bid simulation, it is possible to derive the relationship between the offer and the number of orders obtained. So how do we do a bid simulation? After entering the software system, we can click Order Bidding on the home page track map. Then select Simulation tool for home appliance in the pop-up interface. Fill in the corresponding data to simulate. We can take 3 points. When the quoted price is 1.32, 1.34, and 1.36, the order quantity obtained is 13,000, 12,000, and 11,000, respectively. We can represent these 3 points in the coordinate system, named points A, B, and C respectively. Then we can fit the subjective demand curve. So, how to calculate the price elasticity of demand at point B? The formula for calculating the price elasticity of demand is this. Bring in the corresponding data. Then we can get the price elasticity of demand at point B is 5.58. When the price elasticity of demand is greater than 1, is it appropriate to lower the price or raise the price? The price elasticity of demand at a point is greater than 1. A price reduction is appropriate, and it will result in an increase in total revenue. Should the price be reduced or not? Then we need to compare the total revenue and total cost before and after the price reduction. How is total revenue calculated? The formula for calculating total revenue is TA is equal to P times Q. How to calculate the total cost of ownership? The formula for calculating total cost is TC is equal to total variable cost, TVC, plus total fixed cost, TFC. How to calculate the total variable cost? TVC is equal to current year raw material steel cost, plus labor cost plus VAT. How to get the current year's raw material steel cost? It can be obtained by multiplying the unit purchase cost of raw steel by the steel demand for the current year. Unit purchase cost of raw material steel for the current year is equal to average price of steel purchased last year times 1 plus CPI increase. In the macroeconomic data module, we can see the CPI for the whole country over the years. Place the mouse over the government module and select View Data. In the pop-up Data View page, select Macro Data Statistics, and we can see that the CPI for the third year is minus 3.54%. In the Centralized Steel Trading module, we can see the previous year steel transactions result, including the number of transactions and prices. Place your mouse over the steel bidding section and select Centralized Steel Trading. Once you enter the Steel Centralized Trading page, click on Transaction Records. Then select Year 3 in the Period module. You will see the steel transaction data for the third year. Then we can get the average price of last year's steel procurement as the sum of 6,800 times 0.4, 6,800 times 0.4, 6,800 times 0.2, and etc. divided by the sum of 0.4, 0.4, 0.2, and etc. is equal to $6,800,000. And the macroeconomic data module, we can get the CPI increase of minus 3.54% for the previous year. The unit purchase cost of raw material steel for this year is 6,800 times 1 minus 3.54% is approximately equal to $6,758.42 thousand. The demand for steel for this year can be calculated from the order bidding results. Appliance manufacturers need 1 ton of steel to produce 1 appliance. Automobile manufacturers need 10 tons of steel to produce 1 car. Cost of raw material steel for this year is equal to unit purchase cost of raw material steel for this year times demand is equal to 6,758.42 times demand. How to calculate labor cost? Labor cost is equal to number of laborers required times labor salary. The number of laborers required can be obtained by capacity simulation. The labor salary can be obtained by labor bidding simulation. To quote suitable salary, when the average salary is $11.35 thousand, the total labor supply for the entire country is 2,290, and the number of laborers per group is equal to 2,290 divided by 8 groups is equal to 286 people per group. If labor is in great demand, then salary should be raised appropriately. How to calculate VAT. That is equal to output tax minus input tax. Output tax is equal to TA minus DA divided by the sum of 1 and VAT rate. That rate can be viewed through the Peripheral and Measures section. Input tax is equal to sum of raw material and labor cost minus sum of raw material and labor cost divided by the sum of 1 and VAT rate. How to calculate the total fixed costs. Total fixed costs include land and plant rental, administrative expense, interest, investment in technology improvement, and depreciation of production lines. You can check the data of the corresponding items in the previous year through the income statement. The total fixed cost for the third year can be obtained as is equal to 1,000 land rental fees plus 500 depreciation cost of production line plus 1,500 administrative expenses plus 600 interest is equal to $3,600,000. Now that we know the total cost, including the total variable cost and the total fixed cost, and operating profit is equal to TA minus DC, we can calculate the profit. Calculate the total profit corresponding to each point. After the sales price is determined, we can determine the quantity by bidding simulation. So, as to calculate the total revenue, TA is equal to P times Q. The number of laborers needed can be calculated by capacity simulation. As for the salary, we have known that through the labor bidding simulation. When the average salary of labor is at $11,630, the number of laborers force each group gets is 286. Wow. Material cost is equal to quantity times average unit price. Lab or cost is equal to L times W. That is equal to output tax minus input tax. Total variable costs, TVC, is equal to sum of labor and raw material costs plus VAT plus advertising fee. Total fixed cost, TFC, we have found to be equal to $3,600,000. Total cost, TC, is equal to total variable cost plus total fixed cost. Operating profit is equal to TA minus DC. Profits vary with different quotations. Thus the relationship between P and operating profit is fitted. The curve of the relationship between P and operating profit is obtained. The curve is different for each manufacturer simulation. It is possible to get this kind of curve. How to determine the bottom line of quotation. The offer floor is the price corresponding to the break-even point. How to determine the upper limit of quotation. Quote upper limit, operating profit, is equal to 0, corresponding to the price. If the price corresponding to the break-even point is more than the upper limit of the system's offer, choose system quotation upper limit as quotation. If the price at the break-even point is less than the system's offer limit, the calculated price, then the calculated price can be quoted between the upper limit of the system's quotation. The exact quotation will also depend on the overall market environment. The most reasonable quotation range. The curve just simulated is only one possibility. We also have the possibility to simulate such a graph of P versus operating profit. Then, at this point, the most reasonable offer interval we can find is $1.5 to $1.55 thousand. Let's summarize how to quote. Minimum offer is the price corresponding to the break-even point. To find a reasonable range of quotation, you need to calculate the profit for each point. Find out the relationship between price and profit movement. The optimal decision of advertising expenses. We can use the order bidding simulation to see how the profit changes for different advertising cost investment scenarios. For example, when the quoted price is $1,350,000, the advertising cost is continuously increased. Other things being equal, the operating profit corresponding to each point is calculated by simulating no investment in advertising. Investment in advertising of $300,000 and investment in advertising of $1 million. When no investment in advertising is made, the profit created is minus $1,523.44 thousand. Quote, $1,350,000. Advertising cost is $300,000. The profit created is minus $1,341.11 is more than minus $1,523.44. Quote, $1,350,000. Advertising cost is $1,000. The profit created is minus 2001.53 is less than minus 1,523.44. So, at this time, you need to think about whether advertising cost is a rational decision to invest $300,000. Is it a rational decision to invest $1,000 in advertising? What exactly is the magic weapon of order bidding? Our order bidding magic weapon is the bidding simulation tool. What if no deliveries were made in the previous year? Brand effect is equal to last year delivery amount asterisk 0.1 plus this year advertising cost 0.85 power. The brand effect will drop dramatically. You need to make full use of advertising expenses to enhance the brand effect. We have just talked about the decision points of order bidding. Now, let's analyze what information the results of the order bidding can reflect. Next, we will analyze the results of the order bidding in the following 5 sections. Let's take the 4th year order bidding results as an example. Is it necessary to expand the production line for you? Is it necessary to bid for land? Do you need commercial loans? Let's start with a simulated scenario. What if I get too many orders this year? Don't be afraid. Bold Consultant will help you to deal with it. I'm home appliance for. I ordered 17,000 in the 4th year. Do I need to expand the production line? Brother, use the capacity simulation tool to simulate the maximum capacity of the first production line in the 4th year. The maximum production capacity is 14,000. If there is no OEM and we don't want to be fined, we can only expand the production line. Is it necessary to bid for land to expand the production line? Of course. We need 100 acres of land for each production line of household appliances. And we need to bid for 100 acres this year. Is there a capital gap? It takes $100 million to invest in a production line. And the operation of the production line also needs the corresponding funds. So hurry up to get loan. Now let's sum it up. The order bidding has been completed. Each team has also received the appropriate number of orders. And now each team needs to see if the current production line can meet the order needs. In the 4th year, the maximum capacity of a production line for an appliance manufacturer is 14,000. And the maximum capacity of a production line for an automotive manufacturer is 1,400. If appliance and automobile manufacturers get more orders than the maximum capacity, and currently they have only one production line, they may need to consider expanding the production line or having another group subcontract. If the option is to expand the production line, then a bid for land will be required. and bidding for land as well as expanding the production line will require capital. And the group will need to take out a commercial loan if cash is not available. Total labor demand for the year. The labor is based on the results of the order bidding and capacity calculation, and the number of labors required by each manufacturer can be obtained. For example, if the order for 8,000 units from Appliance 3 requires 198 workers, the labor required by other manufacturers can also be deduced by adding up the labor for requirements of all manufacturers. The total labor requirement for the year is obtained. What companies can we OEM for this year? Let's start with a simulated scenario. We only have 8,000 orders. Isn't the quantity a bit low? But other companies don't have a lot of orders either. There is no hurry. We can wait for the opportunity to move. When they have too many orders, we can OEM for him. How should this work? The marketing director needs to negotiate. What if we get few orders this year? By the order bidding results, we can see the order quantity of other manufacturers. If we know clearly the number of production lines of other manufacturers, we can understand whether they can fulfill all the orders this year. If they can't, we can take the initiative to negotiate with them and produce for them on their behalf. How to determine the total demand for steel this year? Based on the results of the order bidding, we can calculate that the actual quantity of steel required by each manufacturer is 54,000 tons in total, without taking into account the inventory. The increase rate of CPI this year. The order bidding results allow us to see the number of offers and orders from each vendor this year. Then, the average prices of home appliances and automobiles can be calculated. Similarly, the average prices of automobiles and home appliances for the last year can be calculated. Then we can obtain the CPI growth for the current year. The increase of the current year's home appliance price is equal to the current year's average price of home appliance minus the previous year's average price of home appliance, divided by the previous year's average price of home appliance. And the increase of the current year's price of automobile is equal to the current year's average price of automobile minus the previous year's average price of automobile, divided by the previous year's average price of automobile. If there are 4 home appliances and 2 automobiles, the weight of home appliances is 2/3, and the weight of automobiles is 1/3. CPI increase is equal to 2/3 times this year's increase in appliance prices plus 1/3 times this year's increase in auto prices. By calculating the increase in CPI for the current year, we can decide whether we need to book steel for next year. If the CPI rises, the cost of steel manufacturers will also rise, and the price of steel will rise with it the following year, requiring steel to be booked. Conversely, no need to book steel.